So hello and welcome back. We are back with Beryl. She is about to head into Silithus, which honestly is one of those zones that for a long time I skipped because it's not really my aesthetic. Not really big on the whole desert thing, but there's a lot of history to Silithus. And we will start over here where you can see the old kingdom of Anchorage, which is really cool. It is its own little zone, and like a lot of the other old world dungeons, it's instanced or uninstanced, as in you can run around here and do all sorts of stuff. I wish it was a little more fleshed out, but it does make a really cool area to just kind of explore and play around. Yeah, it's pretty cool. No enemies back here. Now there is one thing, and I can't remember what time of the year they are here, or if they're here year round, but there is one special battle pet if you are a pet battler, and that is the Karaji Guardian, and you can get them over near the entrance of Anchorage, over near the gates. And I can't remember, like I said, if they are only available at certain times of the year, because like I said, there's Sidewinder right now, and I'm not seeing any of them, so it might be a seasonal thing. I know some of the battle pets, it depends on what season you try to get them, but this is where you would get them, is right here at the gates of Anchorage. Anchorage also is one of the only places after you do all of the initial stuff that you can still get Cenarian Circle reputation. I know because I've been grinding it out slowly, oh so slowly. Granted, sometimes I kind of forget that I'm supposed to be grinding it out, but it's one of those things that I go through periodically, and I'm just like, yeah, I need to get Cenarian Circle reputation because there's a title attached to that. Now, as to the rest of Anchorage, I know during Vanilla WoW, it was kind of a big deal because it was one of the few places that you could grind out and make it to max level back in the day. You could grind out mobs down here when you ran out of quests, or you could go up and grind out mobs in Winterspring. Winterspring would be my preference, just because, again, this is not really my aesthetic down here. Although I do really like this corner up past the Silithid hives. This little crystal area is very, very cool. Also, little trivia note of something that I found out while I was kind of researching. Evidently, this is where you would eventually get, back in Classic, your Wind Fury Blessed Blade of the Windseeker, I think was the thing, and that was a huge meme back in the Barrens days. And from what I understand, this is where you would get the final step of that quest chain. Now, you can come over here to the Ravaged Twilight Camp, and you can talk to High Lord Demetrian. He says, "Look to this ravaged field, and know the power that the elements hold, Void Elf." So he will tell you a little bit of history. You can say, "What do you know of it?" "I know much. Listen and be educated." I'm totally listening. "In the time before time, what the usurpers would later call the first age of creation, my master and his siblings ruled over this world. It was they, the old gods, who created all. And it was they who would ultimately be cast down by those that would call themselves Shapers. Continue. Their manifest forms, weak from eons of battle, imprisoned beneath the world that they themselves created, the corruption of the Titan Shapers would permeate through the surface and befoul the old gods. It was then and there that the brothers did turn. For 5 millennia, a battle was fought at the core of this world. A battle? It was during the elemental sundering that the Fire Lord Ragnaros would seek to consume my lord Thunderin, the Prince of Air. Demetrian bows his head, his face contorted in rage. Speak his name, and I shall decorate this camp with your entrails. Be silent and listen. All right, well, we'll nod our head. It was the lieutenants of Ragnaros, Gedeon and Gar, who would perpetrate the betrayal against my lord Thunderath was caught unaware. Well, how? The Fire Lord's advances were wholly unknown to Thunderan. Before my lord could react, Sulfuras, the legendary hammer of Ragnaros, would strike an unmerciful blow. Thunderan fell, utterly defeated. The Fire Lord feasted upon the essence of my lord, but it was unable to consume him entirely. So, what did Ragnaros do next? What little remained of Thunderan's essence was stored within a talisman of elemental binding. Ragnaros then shattered the talisman into 2 flawless pieces, the pieces assigned to his lieutenants.
Safe travels.
So I'm assuming that had something to do with the Thunder Fury, blessed blade of the Windseeker, considering Thunderin did sound like a wind elemental. But I must say, that is not a sword I ever... If it was a sword. I'm going to feel really stupid if it wasn't a sword, but that's not something I ever went after. Now, as you can tell by the fact that there is no giant sword in the middle of this, we are back in the past of Silithus because it is another zone that has been phased into a couple different areas. It doesn't need a third one, though, because honestly, this is one of the few areas that changed almost not at all between Classic and Cataclysm. So there's a little trivia fact. It is also, like I said, the home of the Cenarian Circle, which is a druidic order that seeks to heal everything. It is also a place where you can get a couple of rare, or if you're a completionist, a couple of recipes from the Cenarian Circle. You also have the spot where I think this is not Galakrond, but this is where the bronze dragon, and I can't remember his name, but he fell right here. These are his bones. And in present day, well, in this version of World of Warcraft, most of what you are dealing with is the Twilight's Hammer cult. And they have a big old cave, several caves back here. You can get their little Twilight Hammer notes, and every 10 of them will give you a little bit more reputation with the Cenarian Circle, which is one of the few reasons that I come to this area, is to grind that out. There is also a very sad quest where you will help a night elf track down his wife who has lost her mind to, I think it is Cthulhu, and so you kind of have to kill her, which makes him very sad. Also, if you come up here, you can meet Raloshan, the Eternal Watcher. And she says, "Greetings, traveler. It was here, nearly 10,000 years passed, or 1,000 years passed, that the Karaji began their march of destruction across to Kalimdor. Thousands of lives were lost during that war, most in this cursed desert during the invasion. I am one of only a few that remained, chained to both the past and the present. I know not why I am to remain stationed here, but I know that I must. How do you know that? I have been slain 100 times, and I always wake here, alive. Some say that I'm cursed, and others... What do they say? They say that I'm blessed, a herald to hearken a new age. So what do you say? Ancient forces stir, forces that have not been seen or felt for thousands of years. The world weeps, Void Elf. Perhaps a new sundering comes, a sickness born from within. The foulness has begun to seep into our lands. From the dream come nightmares, nightmares to befoul us in our waking hours. Interesting. Go in peace. So the other interesting thing is right after Sargeras plunged his sword into Silithus, you could find the Watcher's body at the foot of the ruined tower, but as you will be able to see here in just a few minutes when we switch to Onyx and look at Silithus in the present day, she is no longer there. Nobody knows where she is now. But you used to be able to find her body, and when you would hover over her body, it would say, perhaps her watch has ended. But perhaps it hasn't, because she's missing. So that is very interesting. Now, also interesting, here at Southwind Village, you will come across the ghosts of all of these Night Elf Sentinels, and when you kill them, you find out that they are actually possessed by the Hive Ayashi Silithid. And there's a few quests that have to do with them. The only other thing that is kind of interesting are going to be across here. Now, I mean, I am talking as someone who did not participate in the opening of Anchorage, so I have no fantastic memories of Silithus, unfortunately, but a lot of people who've been playing WoW longer than me have absolutely amazing memories of PvPing in Silithus and opening the gates of Anchorage and the massive server crashes and everything. And, you know, those are memories I don't have, unfortunately. But I can tell you that you can also talk to the Hermit Otrell back here.
Hello.
He says, "Leave at once, stranger. I have no business with you." But if you do the Twilight's Hammer quest line, he'll talk to you. And he will also take Twilight's Hammer encrypted pages. And other than that, there is a small camp, which hopefully I can find for us. And it is where the quest chain to locate the Night Elf's wife kind of sort of begins and ends. Well, it ends when you kill her down in the Silithid hive, but it begins back with the encampment, which is right up here somewhere. I'm gonna feel really dumb. There it is. It is the Bronzebeard encampment, and you have Rutger Glyphshaper, who said that Bronzebeard is missing again. He sure didn't get any of his brother's good sense.
Be good.
You have Bronzebeard's pet monkey, who's just kind of hanging out here. And you have Frankel Stonebridge.
Hi.
He says, "Look up to the heavens, rogue. The dragonflights have not been seen in this area for 1,000 years. The Karaji are up to something. I just know it."
Watch your back.
And that is about all I can tell you about this part of Silithus. We're going to switch over to Onyx, who will show you Silithus in the present day, and I'm going to show you a little glimpse of what happens in between this portion of Silithus and what it looks like now.
Brother, your crusade is over!
Alright, well now you see exactly what happened to poor Silithus, and if I remember, I will put a card in for the Machinima, or Machinima, that is probably the best, that kind of shows their own little movie that they made of what happened that day to all the residents of Silithus when it got impaled, because as you can see, it kind of went bad. Now again, like I said, the Watcher is gone, and so is her body, so maybe she exists somewhere still. I know back right after the impalement happened, you could find her corpse down here at the base of the tower, and now she's gone, so that's a little mystery. But yeah, now what is mostly here is there's a Horde camp, there's an Alliance camp, because this came with the beginning of Battle for Azeroth, the end of Legion. The Alliance camp is over here, the Horde camp is on the other side, and you have a neutral camp where Magni Bronzebeard stays. And, yeah, that is really about it that's left. The sword, when it came in, it really messed up the place, as you can definitely see, although Anchorage is still there. But the gong is missing, which is kind of an interesting thing as well that I noticed. But, yeah. Now, there are still rares that roam around here, and if you are level 70, they are very easily one-shottable. I don't know if they still have anything cool attached to them, like, you know, pets or mounts or anything. But if they do, that might be a worthwhile thing to farm. Also, if you heard that terrible noise, that was my cat launching himself off of my desk and onto his cat tree, because cats are silly beasties. But yeah, Anchorage is still here, and there really isn't a whole heck of a lot more to say. There probably is if I was like noble and maybe more of a lore nerd than I am. Unfortunately, I'm just not, which I feel bad about. I know a little tiny bit of lore, but nothing like I possibly should. So what we're going to do is we're going to go down here and we are going to find Magni, and that is where I will leave you. Now the good question is, has Onyx even done enough BFA to know? There it is. Yes. Well, evidently she has not, because she is just now discovering Magni for the first time. Oh, that's exciting. Anyway, that is where I am going to leave you this week. Next week, we will be moving on to a place I know a lot better than Silithus because I spent a lot of time. It was one of my very favorite places to farm metals, and that is Ungoro Crater. So next week, we will be venturing into Ungoro Crater. I hope that you join me for that, and I will see you later. Have a great week.